Imagine waking up one day plagued by unexplainable symptoms, dizziness, headaches, even hearing strange sounds. Welcome to the enigma of Havana Syndrome. In the twilight of 2016, a strange phenomenon began to unfold in the heart of Havana, Cuba. American diplomats and CIA officers living and working in this vibrant city started to report a series of peculiar and unsettling symptoms. It was as if they had become characters in a spy novel, except this was all too real and profoundly disturbing. The symptoms they experienced were as varied as they were inexplicable. Some reported a sudden and severe loss of hearing, as though someone had turned down the volume of the world around them. Others complained of persistent dizziness and problems with balance, making even the simplest tasks a challenge. Visual difficulties were also reported, with some describing a world that had become blurry and indistinct. Yet, the list of symptoms didn't stop there. Many were plagued by relentless headaches, the kind that makes it almost impossible to think or concentrate. And perhaps most worrying of all, were the cognitive issues. Memory problems, difficulty concentrating, and even mental fatigue became a common complaint among this group of people. A group that was, until then, perfectly healthy. The onset was often sudden, and the recovery, if it came at all, was slow and grueling. It was as if these individuals had been struck down by an invisible foe, one that left no trace and offered no explanation. So, what was happening in Havana? Was it some form of sonic attack, a new type of biological warfare, or was it all just mass hysteria? Theories abounded, but answers were in short supply. By the end of 2017, 24 people had reported these symptoms, marking the beginning of a medical mystery that continues to baffle experts. This was the inception of what we now know as the Havana Syndrome, a puzzle that remains as elusive and perplexing today as it was on that first day in Havana. As the cases mounted, so did the theories. Was it a sonic attack, a viral outbreak, or something more sinister? In the quest to understand the Havana Syndrome, several theories have been proposed. The first one, and perhaps the most controversial, is the sonic attack theory. This theory suggests that the symptoms of the syndrome are caused by a targeted covert attack using sound waves. The idea is that these sound waves are at such a high or low frequency that they are beyond the range of human hearing, yet they can still cause physical harm. But while this theory is intriguing, it has been met with skepticism by some scientists who argue that sound waves powerful enough to cause the observed symptoms would also cause noticeable physical damage. Another theory is the use of microwave weapons. This theory contends that the syndrome is caused by exposure to microwave radiation. Proponents of this theory point to the fact that microwave radiation can penetrate walls and is known to have biological effects. However, just like the sonic attack theory, the microwave theory has its critics. These critics argue that the symptoms of Havana Syndrome are inconsistent with what is known about the effects of microwave radiation exposure. Then there's the mass hysteria theory. This theory posits that the syndrome is not caused by a physical attack at all, but rather by psychological factors. According to this view, the symptoms of Havana Syndrome are the result of stress and anxiety, possibly exacerbated by media coverage and speculation about the cause of the syndrome. While this theory may seem far-fetched, it's worth noting that mass hysteria is a well-documented phenomenon that can cause real physical symptoms. Despite numerous investigations, there is no consensus on what causes Havana Syndrome. Each theory has its proponents and its critics, and each raises more questions than it answers. Theories abound, yet definitive answers remain elusive, deepening the mystery of Havana Syndrome. The Havana Syndrome didn't stay confined to Cuba. It began to spread, reaching the far corners of the globe and causing international concern. Suddenly, it wasn't just a Cuban issue but a global one. The mystery illness began to infiltrate other diplomatic circles, ambushing embassy staff in countries like China and Canada. Illnesses with strikingly similar symptoms began to pop up, causing headaches, dizziness, and cognitive issues. The world woke up to a puzzling health crisis that was no longer bounded by geography. As the syndrome spread, the international response was swift. Governments worldwide, health organizations, and intelligence agencies began to sit up and take notice. There was an increased scrutiny on the issue, with everyone seeking answers to what seemed like an unsolvable riddle. Countries ramped up their investigations, with a flurry of diplomatic discussions and medical inquiries. The World Health Organization, Centers for Disease Control, and other international health bodies joined the fray, launching their own investigations into this elusive syndrome. The impact on embassy staff worldwide was profound. They were the front lines in this silent battle, their lives disrupted and their health compromised. There were evacuations, with embassy staff being pulled out and sent home for medical assistance. It was a global crisis that no one saw coming, and the response was a testament to the seriousness of the situation. But despite the global spread and the swift response, the Havana Syndrome remained a mystery. Theories abounded, from sonic attacks to biological warfare, but nothing concrete emerged. It was like trying to catch smoke with your bare hands. The more you tried to grasp it, the more elusive it became. The global spread of the Havana Syndrome brought it out of the shadows and into the international spotlight. It wasn't just a problem affecting a few diplomats in Cuba, it was a global health crisis that demanded attention and resources. And as the syndrome spread globally, the quest for answers intensified. But despite all efforts, the riddle remained unsolved. The debate rages on. Is Havana Syndrome a new form of warfare, an environmental toxin, or a psychological phenomenon? In the bustling corridors of scientific inquiry and the shadowy alcoves of international politics, the question of what exactly Havana Syndrome is continues to stir intense debate. It's a tangled web, a conundrum that has been dissected and scrutinized by some of the world's sharpest minds, yet the answers remain elusive. On one side of the divide, there are those who firmly believe that Havana Syndrome is a novel form of warfare. They point to the victims, largely diplomats and embassy staff, and the geopolitical hotspots where the syndrome has been reported. Their argument is laden with concerns about the potential use of sophisticated sonic or microwave weapons, though hard evidence is scant. On the other side, there are those who theorize that this is the work of an environmental toxin. They argue that the symptoms, which include headaches, dizziness, and cognitive difficulties, could be the result of exposure to harmful substances. Yet, the lack of a common environmental factor across all cases makes this theory equally challenging to prove. Then there are those who propose that Havana Syndrome is a psychological phenomenon, a mass psychogenic illness. They suggest that the stress and tension experienced by diplomats in high-risk environments could manifest in physical symptoms. Yet this theory too has its detractors, those who argue that the wide range of symptoms and the severity of some cases are not consistent with such an explanation. Indeed, the lack of concrete evidence supporting any one theory leaves the door wide open for speculation and further research. It's a scientific whodunit, a mystery that continues to confound and fascinate in equal measure. As the debate rages on, the stakes remain high. The victims of Havana Syndrome, and indeed the world at large, are waiting for answers. They're waiting for a resolution, a revelation, that might put an end to the uncertainty and fear that this syndrome has generated. The debate continues, the mystery deepens, and the world watches, waiting for answers. The impact of Havana Syndrome extends beyond those affected. It has implications for international relations, espionage, and the future of warfare. Imagine a world where diplomats hesitate to take up foreign postings, not because of political instability or economic crisis, but the fear of an invisible, untraceable sonic weapon. This is the chilling reality that Havana Syndrome presents. It challenges the very underpinnings of diplomacy and international relations, potentially reshaping the way nations interact and negotiate. Consider the implications for espionage. If Havana Syndrome is indeed the result of a hostile act, it introduces a new, insidious form of spycraft, a weapon that leaves no trace, no physical evidence, yet can incapacitate a person, leaving them with debilitating symptoms. The spy games of the 21st century may very well be played out in the realm of sound waves and frequencies, far removed from the cloak and dagger tactics of the past. But it's not just about the here and now. The future implications of Havana Syndrome are potentially far-reaching. If this is indeed a new form of warfare, it opens up a Pandora's box of possibilities. Could we see armies equipped with sonic weapons, unleashing invisible attacks on the enemy? Could our cities become battlegrounds, not of bullets and bombs, but of frequencies and vibrations? Yet, for all the speculation, the science is still in its infancy. We need more research, more understanding of what Havana Syndrome truly is. We need to delve into the realm of sound, to explore its potential to harm, to heal, and to influence. The future will likely see an increased focus on sonic research as nations strive to understand and potentially counter this enigmatic phenomenon. Havana Syndrome remains a conundrum, its implications vast and its answers few. As we delve deeper into this mystery, one question remains: what will we uncover next?